Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The southern French city of Nice has paid tribute to the 3 people stabbed to death in a suspected jihadist attack at a church. A minute's silence was followed by the placing of a makeshift memorial outside the Notre Dame Basilica. People laid wreaths of flowers and lit candles to remember the victims. French President Emmanuel Macron said Thursday's stabbings were an Islamist terrorist attack. He has also held an emergency meeting with senior ministers. Security has been stepped up at places of worship and schools across France, following 2 similar attacks within 2 weeks. A powerful earthquake has struck off Turkey's Aegean coast north of the Greek island of Samos. This mobile phone footage shows a building collapsing in Turkey's Izmir province, while here you can see CCTV footage showing an office being shaken by the large tremor. The 7-magnitude quake was felt as far away as Athens and Istanbul. Turkey and Greece both sit on fault lines and earthquakes are common. The USA is on course for its highest electoral turnout rate in more than a century. More than 81 million people have already voted early in this year's election, either by post or in person. In Texas, 8.5 million people have voted, which is approaching the total turnout for the state in 2016. California is next, where over 8.4 million people have already voted, while Florida has had more than 7.3 million early voters so far.
If I can get better, anybody can get better, and I got better.
Campaigning in Florida, Donald Trump says his rival wanted to lock people down.
Donald Trump refuses to listen to science.
While Joe Biden criticized what he called the president's super spreader events.
Donald Trump just had a super spreader event here again. They're spending more than just coronavirus. He's spreading division and discord. We need a president who's going to bring us together, not pull us apart.
This election is a choice between my plan to deliver historic, and you know what this is going to be, right? Historic. This is historic prosperity. Another major tax cut to go along with the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And record job growth. And Joe Biden's plan is to deliver punishing lockdowns. He's going to lock you down.
New Zealand has voted to legalise euthanasia in what campaigners have called a victory for compassion and kindness.
65.2%.
Preliminary results show 65.2% of voters supported the End of Life Choice Act coming into force as a new law. The law will allow terminally ill people with less than 6 months to live the opportunity to choose assisted dying if approved by 2 doctors. Its opponents say the law lacks adequate safeguards. The referendum is binding and the law is expected to come into effect in November of next year. At least 140 migrants bound for Europe have drowned after a boat carrying around 200 people sank off the coast of Senegal. That's according to the UN.
We get a lot of tragic stories, and I just wanted to flag one that really caught our eye, sadly, this morning.
A spokesperson for the Secretary General of the United Nations announced the news at a press conference. The boat is thought to have caught fire and capsized shortly after leaving the town of Umbour. About 60 people were rescued, according to reports. And finally, a NASA probe sent to collect rock from an asteroid several hundred million kilometers from Earth is back on track after some technical concerns.
Touchdown declared.
The space agency says the rock samples have been safely sealed and the probe is ready to return to Earth. It's after officials behind the OSIRIS-REx probe, which landed on Bennu earlier this week, were worried after a rock wedged open the door of a container. This meant that samples were spilling out from the craft. The spacecraft launched in 2016 and will begin its journey back to Earth next March. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.